gonna be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together, together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, we'll chat with inspiring voices in the homeschool community, highlight must-see nature spots and field trip gems, and share resources from across the region.
Whether you're new to homeschooling or a seasoned pro, pull up a chair and join us as we celebrate the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south.
We'll laugh together, we'll learn together, find the joys in life together, give each other grace and space to be.
Welcome back, you guys. Today, I am so excited to share with you guys, but also with Kat, about my experience visiting the Nina and the Pinta replicas of those two ships, weirdly enough, in Chattanooga. And I will go ahead and preface, I fully understand it is the Nina. If I go back and forth between calling it the Nina and the Nina, just understand we are recording this in the week that doesn't exist between Christmas and New Year's. So that will tell you where my brain's at.
All the grace for it, because I feel like we also, probably most of us, grew up in our history classes calling it the Nina and not learning that that was not the proper pronunciation until after the habit had been formed. So all the grace for this. I'm really excited to hear about your experience, because I have seen this experience the last 2 years and just not felt like it was the right time yet for my son and I. So I'm really excited to hear about your experience so I can be thinking forward into next year. Tell us, first of all, how did you even find out about this experience?
I'm trying to remember how I found out about it last year, and it might have been just our homeschool group, our local homeschool group, did a field trip. And I just want to, before I get into our experience, I want to tell the listeners a little bit about the Nina and the Pinta replicas.
Okay, yeah.
So for anyone, I don't want to assume that everyone knows, but the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, the three ships that Columbus and his gang came over to America, etc. So there are those
I really like thinking of them as a gang.
yeah,
It's my new favorite way
That's your 2-second history lesson with Kayla.
to talk about this particular piece of history. Columbus and his gang.
There is a company called Sanger Ships, and they have created these two replicas of these ships. And the Nina is actually the most historically accurate Columbus replica ship ever built.
Fascinating.
It's very, very accurate. And I mean, to the point, they use certain materials authentically that were used in the original Nina.
That's impressive.
So very cool. And they dock at Ross's Landing in Chattanooga.
And this is not the only place that they go. Is that correct? Okay. So if you're listening and you're not in Chattanooga, they might dock somewhere near you too.
Yes, because I talked to the guy that was working, kind of leading everything when we were there. And I asked him, how does this work? I mean, do you guys have to load these boats up on a bigger boat and ship them away? And he said, no, they use these boats. And if you can get there by river, they can get there.
Okay. So, just along, is it the Tennessee River that goes through Chattanooga? So is it just along the Tennessee River, or is it?
I don't know. I don't know, because on their website, they only have their schedule for this last half of 2025, which was they were in Chattanooga from October 31st to November 23rd. And then they're probably, I don't know where they dock normally. There's not any information on that on their website. They travel an average of 10 months out of the year, and their website says they go anywhere between 30 and 40 different locations across the United States. They travel the Gulf Coast, the East Coast, the Great Lakes, and the Midwestern River System.
Okay.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. So they're basically like Mississippi River East, but all
Pretty
kinds
much,
of waterways throughout there. And they actually sail to the places where they port.
Yes. And I'm saying it like that because my dad did not believe me. When I first told him we were going, he was like, oh, yeah, they just, stay there, whatever. And I said, no, I think they travel around. And so then I asked the guy, and he was like, yes, we do absolutely travel around.
Yeah, because where they dock in Chattanooga, there's usually something else there. So this is a special, when they come and dock there, it's just temporary. They're not always in Chattanooga. Okay.
Yes. It is very affordable. I want to say it was like $10 a person.
Okay.
Maybe less. And when we got there, so I found out, going back to how I found out because our local homeschool group had done a field trip. And last year, we didn't do a lot of the field trips with our local homeschool group just because the timing didn't work out. And it was a deployment year. And so I kind of had to say no to a lot more just because I was running on empty pretty much the whole year. So this year, I committed to doing more field trips. I didn't set a specific number or I want to do one a month, but I want to say yes to some of these things because they're really stinking cool.
Yeah, they are.
And so when this came up, I was like, yes, we are going to go check this out this year. So when we got there, you kind of have to wait up at is it a gangway? Is that what it's called?
That sounds right.
The bridge to get onto the boat. If it's not, people are yelling, all 12 of them. And this guy comes out and he is dressed in full on Pirates of the Caribbean situation. Like he's got the bandana around his head.
Yes. So like historical reenactments.
Yes.
However, the ship, but the people.
Yes. The leader of our group, she was like, I get that could be a costume, but he just kind of strikes me as someone who that might just be his attire. And she wasn't wrong. He fit the bill. He fit the bill completely.
He loves his job.
So he does love his job. He does. So he kind of gives you some, rules or whatever, that you have to follow, just like a heads up, this is what we're going to do. So we walked down the walkway to get on the first ship and we kind of got to explore and, they're on both ends. You can go upstairs and look at things. But then that same guy started talking to us about the history of the ship and the original Nina, but also the history of these ships that we're on, these replica ships. And
cool.
So you got to hear about, how they came about, how they do maintenance. And then, this was fun, you are broken up, they break you up into teams. And each team gets a color. And you get this sheet, and it has riddles on it. And you're exploring the whole ship looking for letters. So, like, if you're the blue team, you read your little riddle, and then you're going to go look for letters that are blue. So if you find other letters that are like red or black or whatever, those aren't yours. You're only looking for blue letters. So you're supposed to get all your letters, and then you have to make the word. And to leave the boat and go to the next boat, you have to give the word.
It's like an escape room.
A little bit, yeah.
Escape ship.
An escape ship. I really love that. That's amazing. You have to give the word to the deckhand, and then he gives you, I think there was like suckers and little temporary tattoos or whatever, and then he'll let you off. But some of the clues, all of the clues, are things that will tell you about the boat. So the little scavenger hunt that they sent us on, for instance, the first clue was every ship should carry at least a few anchors in case of cut and run situations. Find the closest anchor on the ship for your first letter. So then we'd have to go and find the anchor and find our letter. The second one said the majority of their year's worth of supplies, including fresh water, were kept in these wood structures. If you aren't careful, they might roll away from you. So with each clue, you got a little information about the boat and about what would happen if you were on the boat or whatever. And so then you found all your stuff, you went to the deckhand, got your treats, and then you made your way over to the Nina.
I really like that they had this activity because sometimes when you go to these kinds of things, it's like you're just walking around and looking on your own. But this sounds like it really kind of guided you. So like it was really intentional. I'm a little bit skeptical of the being held hostage part. Like it sounds like a really fun activity that could turn into my nightmare. My son and I are now trapped on this ship.
No,
because escape ship didn't work for us.
Well, you're on a team, and we couldn't find one letter. And so the guy was kind of like cutting his eyes at where it was.
Okay.
And each group, most of the groups had an adult with them as well. But you got to explore the ship as you were doing it. And then if you found your answer quicker than everybody else, you could then go continue exploring. And they had like maps of where the original ships, all their routes that they would have taken. They just had it was really cool stuff. They had cannons on there. Oh. And then you went over to the Nina and kind of got to do the same thing. They gave you the history. I think the Nina was the first ship that they built, and that's kind of like their pride and joy because it is the most historically accurate. So then you get to spend your time on the Nina. And I will say it's not one of those situations where you can just kind of be leisurely because there are other groups coming in. Like our group, we didn't have to be with another group. We were all together, just us. We kind of got our little private tour of both the ships, but there were groups coming in after us. So I never felt rushed. I felt like we had plenty of time to explore and really check everything out. And I'll put a lot of the pictures and videos on socials, but you did, need to, when they said you needed to exit, you needed to exit.
Well, it sounds like it's a well-oiled machine where they've like thought through the
Mhm.
timing of these activities and these demonstrations and lessons. They know how long it's going to generally
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I didn't realize that it was just the group from our community that went through all of this together. There weren't other groups with y'all. So that's really interesting. So one question that I have is, did they talk at all about so these are replicas. Does that mean that they have to sail them to the places the same way that like sailing was in was it 1400s? Oh my gosh. I'm so embarrassed.
1492,
Okay.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Yes. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the rhyme I remember, but now I'm doubting myself because I'm saying it into a microphone. Yeah. In the 1400s, like, do they have to sail them with the same sailing technologies, or do they have like a motor? Like it's a replica, but then there's a motor on the back.
No, there's no motor. I know that for sure. I do feel like he mentioned that they have made on the Pinta. We didn't talk about this on the Nina, but they have made some upgrades to make obviously sailing easier. But I feel somewhat confident that there is no motor.
And I
So
know that
yeah, I
this is like
mean,
a thing that people who are into the historical replication and reenactment, they do it the way it was done. It's just mind blowing to me that they could travel to so many places and have this schedule not be using all of the advancements. Like, it's just really cool. And I think it's cool
yeah.
for our kids to see that you can be really passionate about something and you don't have to make it new or flashy. You can make it what it is. Like, I just think it's a really cool experience for kids to have, to go see people who are so passionate about this interest and they just
And
take it to the extreme.
yes, and every single one of them are extremely passionate. And there were these spots on both ships. You couldn't go below deck. They had it marked off, but I'm so curious because that's got to be where they stay
Oh,
when
yeah.
they're doing their thing. So I really wanted to go see that, but you can just tell just in his delivery, because on both ships they tell you all about the ship and everything. And just even in the delivery, you could see they're super into this. And we, in my son's history, had been talking about the early days of the Americas and stuff like that. And so it was neat to see it real life. And frankly, it was neat for me to see it in real life because I have, read history and done all the school things, but to actually step foot on this boat that is like, this is what it would have looked like. These are the tools they would have used. They had so many cool artifacts and they consider it a floating museum.
Oh, I like that.
And so, yeah. And so once they get to port, I mean, they're not moving. They only move to get to each port.
Right.
But yeah, they have these basically exhibits on the age of discovery and how navigation worked in that time, what life was like at that time. It was neat. And I'm really glad that my kids got that experience. And it's only $6 a person if you do the group rate. So it is extremely affordable.
Yeah,
And
that's
even if
great.
you don't do the group rate, kids between, like if you just want to go on your own, you can go on your own. You have
Okay,
to
I was
make a
gonna ask that.
reservation.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to make a reservation, but kids between the ages of 5 and 18 are $8, 4 and under are free. Anyone over that age of 18 is $10. So it's still not
Yeah, it's
that
reasonable.
outrageous.
Yeah.
So I want to go again and again as my
Yeah.
kids get older because it was really interesting watching the older kids navigate and ask questions about things that were just, my kids aren't there yet. So I'm excited to do it again. I definitely would do it again. And it's such a low risk field trip for us because we're like an hour away.
Yeah.
We're familiar with the area. And I mean, thankfully we had lovely weather. I don't know because it's not covered.
Right.
So I don't know what they would do in the event of rain. But we had lovely weather. And then as a group, we all went and ate lunch at this lovely taco place across the street.
So how long was it from when you met up with the group to when you de-shipped? When you
Disembarked.
That's the word I wanted to use. When you the land.
So the guided tour is like 30 minutes.
Okay.
But you can kind of hang out, like I said, until they have to ask you to leave because the next group is coming. They have like I don't want to call it a gift shop because it's not a shop. It's like a trunk that they open.
My son would love that. He's really into pirates right now.
No, he would have absolutely loved it because so they have shirts. I think they had like pirate coins and maps, like rolled up maps. So there's that little spot. So the tour's 30 minutes, but you can, ask questions of the guys that are working. You can poke around, take pictures, whatever. So I would say, maybe an hour total from the time where we arrived to the time that we got back off the boat.
That's a good amount of time, especially I think for like a history field trip that's going to hold attention and not get to the point where the kids are not engaged anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to know you can go with a group, and I assume like they do like this is like a school field trip model and like homeschool groups kind of fit into that. But so I'm curious, and you might not know, I'm just kind of wondering aloud, if you were to go, like you said, you can go, you don't have to go as part of a group, you can go on your own. I wonder if they group people together and still kind of have these activities, or is it like different hours that it's available for the general public?
No, their hours are from 9 to 4 during the period of time where they were in Chattanooga. You can do a self-guided tour if you want to, if they don't have groups or whatever. And I think you just like go, and if you have questions, you can ask the people. But I'm thinking, and I didn't find this anywhere on their website, but I'm wondering if it's only open on certain days for groups.
Well, that would make sense.
You know what I'm saying? Because it says groups also get a guided tour from my crew member during the weekdays. So I'm wondering if like maybe on the weekends there's no groups, and so you can just show up, buy your ticket, and do your thing. But then on the weekdays, you schedule your group tour, and they close it off to the public because there truly wasn't anybody else there but our group. So
that's cool. And does it seem fairly easy to set up a group visit on their website?
Yeah, you just call. You don't even do it on the website.
Oh, okay.
They have a number listed, and you call. And you do have to pay when you call.
Oh,
So,
okay. Got it.
yeah. But very low key. And, a lot of times when you go to museums that are geared towards kids or whatever, it's a lot of stimulation. It's a lot of sound. It's a lot of color. There's so much. This was very low stimulation. While there was a lot to see and like, you can touch things. You can touch the ropes, you can touch the cannons. It wasn't wild and crazy, and my kids weren't just like wired and stimulated afterwards.
Well, it's 1400s replica.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be what they had then, which is not all the flash and the noise, and
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. And it was really cool to hear the kids asking questions about like, are you serious that they actually had to do that back then? It's like, yeah. My child did ask me if I was alive then. So that was a time for me.
I wasn't ready.
I wasn't ready either.
Can I ask, was it your girl child or your boy child who asked?
It was the girl child.
Yeah. that's what I was predicting.
Mm-hmm.
We love when we get those kinds of questions. I had
Yeah.
one of those recently where I was like, I think we were reading Little House on the Prairie, and my son asked me where I was when that was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always really fun.
A
When
good confidence booster.
Yeah, that's when you like rush out and buy a different skincare regime.
Right. But it also helped to, in all seriousness, have a conversation about the timeline of America.
Yeah. And time.
It kind of helped. Yeah, it kind of helped solidify that. And I will say this too. My husband is the history buff of the family. I am not. And so he did not get to go with us this year because he had to work. But much like some of the other field trips that we've talked about, now that we've done it, we're going to make it a priority for him to go with us the next time.
Yeah.
Because I think he would nerd out. And you said in the New Year's episode,
what did I say?
you made a comment about you got so excited about learning something, and then that made your kid super excited about learning it because he probably wouldn't have found it as exciting if you hadn't been like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I think that will be how it is for my kids. They'll see him being like, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
And they'll get super excited about it.
Yeah. I used to talk a lot about like our emotions are contagious. When I was young, I used to put on my resume as like one of my skills was contagious optimism.
I love that.
But like, I think that we have to think about that in homeschooling, that our attitudes towards things are contagious. And when we are pumped to learn something new, that's going to be contagious for our kids, and it teaches them that like I'm not too old to learn something new or still get excited about, even if it's not something new, like still just get excited for this new
Yeah.
experience. And like I feel like that is something that I've been thinking about the whole time you've been talking, is how much I've learned in quotation marks about the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, that's, like, not actual learning, that, like, if I were to
Right.
go, and I'm sure like, you were having this happen, like, this is what I spent 10 years in school learning, but not really learning, and now I'm actually learning it for the first time because it's tangible. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And there was a school group, like a public school group there before us. So I know that school groups can do that. And I'm just like, why didn't our schools do that? But I think about it, it's much easier for me and my two kids to get in the car and drive an hour than it is for a school to figure out the buses and figure out the lunches and get the permission slips and
Yeah.
load everybody up. And, where I went to school, we were like an hour and a half from Chattanooga. So I don't know,
And schools probably
you
have
know
to do a lot of picking and choosing. Like,
yeah.
we know because we're doing this podcast and we're like constantly sourcing what could we go do and what's out there and what have we done. There's so much to do, and the schools can't go do that all. They have to have time in the school too, whereas we can be
Yeah.
like, we have the freedom and flexibility to go take that field trip. It's just
Yeah.
another one of those gifts of homeschooling. Okay, so you went with the group from our
Mhm.
community. Are we going to talk a little bit about the fun community time you guys had having lunch?
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
feel like that was part of the outing, right?
It was part of the outing. It was wild. I really think the poor waitress, bless her heart, was not ready. There was nothing that could have prepared her for that.
And again, like this is like a great segue from like it's hard for the public schools to go on every single field trip. They also don't get to go to a restaurant all together with everybody
Mhm.
else from the group that you went with and have this experience out, the kids themselves. And also, it sounds like y'all moms had a time. I was getting texts of pictures of you. So tell
So
us all about it.
before rumors get started, let me clear up what happened. So we go to this restaurant and the food was delicious. And in hindsight, the restaurant is not geared towards kids. There is not a kids menu. And I think that's very purposeful. The decor in the restaurant is not necessarily kid
This is like
friendly.
right across from the dock, right?
Uh huh.
I know
Uh huh.
exactly where you're talking about. I've not
Yes.
been there
And
because I'm always with my child.
sure. And now at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, 11:30,
Yeah.
whatever time it was, it's fine. We were the only people in there, praise the Lord. And, the manager was amazing. She was so sweet and, whatever. But the waitress was not loving her life at the moment. Which is fair, which is fair. So we order food and another family, we were kind of sitting, some of us were sitting all together and some people were sitting kind of on the other side of this little barrier thing. And so this other mom comes up and she's got this cup and she says, they have pollinated dandelion buds here. And I got them. Would you guys like to try them? And I was like, I'm so sorry. What did you say now? What? I don't understand. And she said they're pollinated dandelion buds and you can eat them. Like a lot of people use them like capers. Like they pickle them in a brine and then like eat them on salads and stuff. And she said, they kind of feel funny in your mouth though, and it's an acquired taste. So I was like, okay. So a couple of the other moms try it and have just these reactions of like, oh my gosh, what is in my mouth? And so it comes to me and I'm just like, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know. I don't know that I can do this. And the leader of our group was like, no, you have to try this. And I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to send it to Kat. When I tell you, it was the weirdest experience, the weirdest like food experience I have ever encountered. Because when you first bite into it, there's a little pop almost. And you get a warm sensation in your mouth, but also a little bit like a sour sensation. And then it's like very earthy and it almost feels like something's melting. And I was really concerned that something was going to happen and I wasn't going to be able to drive home because I was like, is this hallucinogenic? I don't know.
Yeah, the way you described it just sounded like you ate something in Wonderland.
It felt like I ate something in Wonderland, and I kept, checking in on my brain. Am I all here? Am I seeing double? I was very concerned.
Yeah, I got a text that said, Kayla tried a new thing, and it was a picture of you making a face I've never seen you make before.
Yeah. Because the thing is, even after you eat it and swallow it, that weird sensation lives on your tongue for a long time.
And was it, billed as a palate cleanser? Is that right?
Yes.
Because you were like, oh, my palate was cleansed.
Yes.
Among other things.
No, thank you. No, thank you ever again.
Yeah, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago when some of the moms who were there were all together, and I was asking questions about it. And someone said, I liked it. I would never do it again. And I was like, that doesn't sound like you liked it.
Yeah, it was an experience, and I'm just not interested in doing that again, ever.
Yeah.
If that's your thing, I love that for you. It's not mine. It's for sure not mine. But it was fun. And my kids made some new friends because we sat with one family we knew, we had seen them before, but there was another family that was brand new. And so we got to meet them and hang out with them. So it was a good community time.
Yeah.
And
bonding over the dandelion buds,
Yeah.
whether you like them or not, it was like a bonding experience with the other moms. And I think that's an important part of these excursions that we take is not just how cool the replicas were and the history that was learned and the hands-on learning, but also just the relationships that get to be formed and forged. So that's why I wanted to make sure we talked about that part.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing me back there. I can almost taste it in my mouth as we're talking. It was awful. It was awful. And I am not a picky eater. I am not a person who shies away from trying new things. When we went to South Carolina for a friend's bachelorette, I had escargot for the first time and it was delightful. I love trying new things. I don't love that. I don't love foods that make me think that I'm about to have some weird hallucinogenic reaction.
Yeah.
But the other thing I will say about this trip is, and I was reminded of this on this trip, but it applies to a lot of things. For me, at least, because I am a planner, I am type A, I like to know what I'm walking into. And I've told you off mic before, I don't love having new experiences for the first time with my children. I like to experience it. That way I know I go in confident knowing what I'm getting my kids into. But we had this wonderful experience and we got to, see it for the first time. But now, next time we get to go back and we don't have that first time filter anymore. So now we can spend more time looking at things and, paying more attention to the areas that we found but maybe didn't have a lot of time to spend because we were just taking everything in. Yeah. So I'm really excited to experience it for the second time. The first time is fun. It's brand new. You have the novelty of it. But I also love a second time experience too.
That's cool.
So
I like that a lot. And
I think
your
that it'll be
second
really
time will
special.
hopefully be our first time.
Yes. And how fun that will be to see the kids showing him around and, hopefully my husband can go and it'll be his first time and it'll be a whole new experience. And the kids, assuming they're going to come the same time, I think they come the same time every year. My kids will be almost 10 and 8, which is terrifying.
Wild.
So, they'll be completely different kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have, aside from trying new things, do you have...
That was not a win. That was not a win, Pat.
All right. We've talked about the not win of the day, but do you have a win for the day?
I think the win for me on this trip was that we did it because every time it's been brought up in our homeschool group, I want to go. I don't remember anything major ever happening. I just never pulled the trigger. And I think the reason I was able to this year, one, definitely a lot of people say you find your stride as a homeschool mom in your third year. That's when you find your confidence and, really get in a good rhythm. And I can kind of attest to that.
Yeah.
Because I guess, this is our fourth year, but I don't the kindergarten year for us was very loosey-goosey. We were living in the camper, whatever. But I think that I really have gained confidence in my yes. And yes, we can do this. This will be fun. And I'm really excited for what that makes next year look like because I did say yes this year. And so now I'm even more confident in that because I know I can and it went well. So I think the win for this was that we finally made it on the trip, but also it was a success. And let's do more of that. And I want to do more of that next year because the hands-on learning, I say it, I feel like every single podcast, the hands-on learning is not, you can't replace that. You cannot replicate that in your home. As hard as you try, there is nothing that compares to putting your hands on things, to seeing things in real life, to even just like being aware of how you fit on the ship. You know what I'm saying? Like how you at your body size fits on the ship and thinking about these people being on these ships for a ton of time.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this before, but like every hands-on experience then can feed the in-home learning where you can't find a hands-on experience, but you have that comparable. Like, remember when you were standing on that ship? Now you have something hands-on to like loop back to in other lessons that you don't have access to a hands-on experience. So they're so valuable for what you're learning, but also for this comparable piece. Yeah.
And I
That's so
think
cool.
it makes it more interesting to them when they are doing the book work, talking about that. It's like, oh yeah, I was on a replica of that ship. I know what that wood felt like. I've seen a cannon like that, you know? It makes it less boring and like they're just reading a story that did it or did it not exist, you know?
It makes it real.
Yeah. And it kind of goes with my outsourcing thing too, because this guy who's super passionate about this history, he's getting to teach my kids about it. And I can just sit back and let him do that.
Yeah. And someone who's super passionate is going to do a really good job.
Yes.
Not that we
And he
can't
had
do a good job.
visuals
Yeah.
and all that. And it was just so much more entertaining.
Not that we can do a good job. But when you are super excited about a subject, it's contagious. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
So if you want to follow their schedule, you can visit them at their website, and it's just ninapinta.org. And you'll know you're at the right place because right up top it says Discover Columbus's ships. And it has pictures of them actually sailing. Like the first thing is a video of them sailing in Lake Erie in 2017.
Cool.
It's wild.
I'm
And
going to
yeah,
check
the
that
sails
out.
are up and everything. It's really cool. So check them out at ninapinta.org. And there's a little menu spot that says ports schedule. They haven't, as of today, they have not updated it for 2026, but you can just like pop in there. And if you're local, the Chattanooga social media for like the city, they post a lot about when they're coming.
Yeah. It was
So
in
you
like
can
the
keep tabs
newspaper
on
for
them there.
Chattanooga too and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Speaking of keeping tabs, where can the people find you, Kayla?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple _ on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And where can they find you?
You can find me at Recreating Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And you can find us at Homeschooling Down South on all the socials. If you have a cool experience that we should be checking out, please email us at hello@homeschoolingdownsouth.com.
And if you haven't already, we would be so grateful if you would leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. It just really helps boost our show in the algorithm. And we would love for you to leave some comments on our social media posts. So yes, we would love to hear your thoughts on the show. And we'd love for you to share the show with the homeschool moms in your community.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
And we'll love together, we'll learn together, explore this whole wide world together. No matter where we are, I have you, you have me, and today that's all